LIVESTREAM, where we share all of the new and exciting features we have been working on. In today's episode of LIVESTREAM, we have one colossal feature that was launched, which is the ability to use custom JavaScript libraries inside of Appsmith. And we have several quality of life fixes that will make Appsmith easier on you and also for your end users. So some of the features we'll be taking a look at today includes the ability to use custom JavaScript libraries. That's the first feature we'll be looking at. Then I'm going to show you another deployment option that is available on Appsmith, a new one in fact. The evaluation pane has been made such that it can float around, which is really nice. You will now be able to navigate widgets using URLs. I'm going to show you how that works, and you can now find code definitions on hover over a method or a function. I'm going to show you how that works. And lastly, the table widget now has the option for you to freeze columns. So these are all the features we'll be taking a look at today. My name is Confident and I'm a developer advocate at Appsmith. Without any delay, let's get started. Alright, so the first feature we'll be taking a look at is one that has been long awaited, and that is the ability to use custom JavaScript libraries inside of Appsmith. It's a really powerful feature because it changes the complexity of the kind of apps you can build on Appsmith, and in fact you're going to spend way less time building these apps because you don't have to write all of the code. You can just import from the libraries that are available in JavaScript and use them on Appsmith. So let me show you how this works. I have a blank page here. What I'm going to do is try to use a library that makes it possible to generate random names. I'm going to use chance.js. To do that, I'm just going to go to the libraries section. Now there's a plus button, so what you do is click on it and you can check out the recommended libraries, which is on the list here, or you can just go use whatever library you want to. So I'm just going to pick one out. I'm going to go to JS Deliver and let us search for chance.js. All right, this is chance.js. What I'm going to do is copy the UMD build. There is an ESM build or model. Go back to default, copy the UMD build. This is what you want to do. So I'm just going to copy this and let's head back to Appsmith. I'm going to paste this in, click on the install button, and we have chance.js installed. So to use chance, I'm just going to go to the widgets section. Let's bring in a text widget and I'm going to do something like this, write some JS, let's say chance the name, and you can see a random name has been generated. Now if I take this out and paste it in, a new name has been generated. So you can see this is really easy and it's a really powerful feature that makes it possible for you to just load any custom JavaScript library inside of Appsmith. And while this took some time, it was really worth it. In fact, we did an interview last Monday with Bharat, one of the creators of this feature. So if you love to get a deep dive into this feature and know what it took to build it, go check out the interview video right here to the top corner and I'll catch you there. Alright, so moving on to the next feature we have on the list, that is Ansible powered deployment. This is actually not a new feature, but it's new to me, so I thought to share with you in case you're one of those people who is interested in managing infrastructure as code. So this is going to be available on the Appsmith GitHub repository. I'm just going to open up the link and show you how it works. Once you are here in the Appsmith repo, don't forget to hit the star button if you haven't starred us yet. We just crossed 25k stars, so we're actually celebrating it, and if you can help us get up to 30k stars, that'll be much appreciated. Now going back to deployment, you want to go into the deploy folder, and here you would see the Ansible playbook to deploy Appsmith. Right now we support deployments using Linux, Debian based Linux operating systems, and also Red Hat based installation. So there's a Debian or Ubuntu setup, and there's one called Amazon, which actually is for Red Hat based systems. If you love to see a different distro supported, please let us know, or you can actually create a PR using the templates you have here. We would definitely accept that and add it to this playbook. So this is one more deployment option for you while deploying Appsmith, and it is also nice to see. Moving on to the next feature, the evaluated value pane now has the ability to be floated around the screen. This is a quality of life fix and it's just going to make your experience building on Appsmith so much better. So if you do not know what the evaluated value pane is, it's this pane that pops up whenever you have JavaScript that evaluates to something else. It is Appsmith's way of trying to tell you what it thinks you're trying to do. So for example, I have an API that returns a bunch of data and I have it linked to this table widget, and you can see an interpretation of what Appsmith thinks I'm doing right here in the evaluated value pane. So this pane has been around for a while. Now we've added the ability for you to move it around in situations where it happens this pane is blocking something actually important while building on Appsmith. So you can see it's actually blocking out the email column. If I do not want it to do that anymore, I can just move this away and you can see I have the view I would like to see. So you can actually move this anywhere on the screen and it works across all screens on Appsmith. So for example, if I go to the API where this data is coming from, and let's say I need to work on a query param, for example, and I need to write some JavaScript. Previously, the key area, which is the key of the query parameter, is all going to be blocked because of the evaluated value pane. But I can move this around now, and here I have my view to continue working as I want to. So this is a really nice fix, and it's just going to make Appsmith a lot much easier when you go build your apps. It's lovely. Now, this feature will make things a lot easier for your users, especially when using complex applications. So what this feature does is that it appends the ID of the current active widget to the URL bar and also to the browser navigation stack, so that users will be able to navigate across recently visited widgets using the browser forward and back buttons. So I'm going to show you how this works. Let's go to grab a widget. And let's just grab let's go ahead to grab a table widget, for example. You notice the moment I drop this widget on the canvas, the URL has been updated to the ID of the current widget I'm viewing, which is this table widget. So it means if we have other widgets down the page and we go visit them, we can easily come back to the table widget just using the browser's navigation button. I'm going to show you how this works. So I am going to grab an input widget. So let's go down the page. I have this on the page. Now I can go back to the table widget by hitting the browser back button. As you can see, I'm back here, and we can go back here using the browser's forward button. Okay, I actually did not do that, so let's do that. So this is browser back, we're on the table widget, browser forward, beyond the input widget. It just makes navigation so much easier for your users in complex apps. And this is part of the efforts we are putting towards making Appsmith easier for you and your end users. I remember a few releases ago, we actually launched a feature that makes it possible to retain your context while building on Appsmith. So for example, if I was trying to work on this table widget and I go into one of the columns, I go into a different tab, let's say the style tab, and then I navigate somewhere else. Say for example, I try to go fix an API that I'm trying to use with the table widget. So let's go quickly create an API. And let's go to the params. Let's start trying to type some JavaScript. So let's say json.stringify, for example. Then I go back to the table widget. You can see it retains my context. This was exactly where I left off, and I can continue working right here from the context of the table widget. And of course, if we also go back to the API I was working on, it retains the context I left it at. I was trying to write some JavaScript and my cursor is blinking right at the place I left off. So these are awesome features, and it's just going to make it easy for you to build on Appsmith and for your users to use your apps built on Appsmith. This is lovely too. Alright, so moving on to the next feature, we've made it possible for you to view code definitions on hover of a method or a function, and I'm just going to show you this by opening up an app I have set up for this. So let's open up an app that has a lot of JavaScript code, and I'll show you how this feature works. Alright, so this is an app that has a bunch of things. You don't have to worry about what the JavaScript does. We just have to focus on the sign up function, and something you notice is that the moment I start hovering over the code inside of this JavaScript file, I can actually start seeing some code definitions. So for example, this is the password input from the UI, and once I hover over this, I can see all of the properties that are available on this function. Values I can read from, values I can write to, for example, and it just shows up right here in this nice floating window. And if I go hover over this, you can see that I am able to see all of the methods inside of the current JavaScript file I'm in. If there are variables, I could also see them and access them. And the same also goes for functions inside of the JavaScript file I'm working. Although the current version doesn't show me the parameters that are taken by this function, but I think that's something that can be added in the future. Same also goes for queries to APIs or databases. I can see all of the methods, I can see all of the properties I can read from, and this just makes it so much easier for me to work on my code pieces, because I can easily hover over a function and see its definition. So this is a lovely quality of life improvement, and it's just going to make writing JavaScript on Appsmith a lot smoother. Alright, to wrap things up, I'm going to be sharing the last feature I can share in this release. There are actually a lot more features, so I'll be leaving the release notes down in the description below if you'd like to go check it out. But the last feature we'll be taking a look at in this episode of Release Jam is the ability to freeze table columns. So previously, as a developer, you can actually freeze columns right from within the editor. So let's say, for example, I need the ID column to be frozen while trying to hover or scroll horizontally on the table widget. What I can do is go into the ID column, go to the column freeze property, and I can freeze left or freeze right. So now we're freezing left, and when we try to scroll horizontally, you can see that the ID column is frozen. Now, the new feature we've added allows your end users to also freeze columns whenever they need to on the fly inside of their apps as they use it. So I'm just going to unfreeze this. Let's unfreeze the ID column. Now for your end users, they now have a drop down on the table column where they can choose to freeze a column, and as you can see, it's also frozen. I can go add more columns to the freeze list. So for example, let's add the email. I've added email, so both the user's ID and email is frozen, and as I scroll horizontally, these two columns stay in place. So this is the ability to freeze columns. It's just going to make the table widget a lot much easier to use for your end users. Alright, and that's it for today's episode of Release Jam. We have way more features to show, so I'm going to be leaving a link to the release notes so that you can go check them out. One especially feature I'd like to call out is the ability to auto log in for private embeds. We'll be making a tutorial on that feature to show you how to set it up and make use of it, so keep an eye out on our YouTube channel for that. In fact, go get subscribed so that you don't miss it out when that video becomes available. Alright, that'll be all for today's Release Jam. So I see you next time. Au revoir. Bye bye.